Ready, guys? Geez, there's 8 people waiting. You've obviously all got nothing to do today. Mark, g'day. Stuart, hello. Bill Baggins, hello. Tea and biscuits, hello. The shed shop, James, is up early. Goodness gracious. I'm sort of here. But that's kind of where we're at. Electro Pancake, good day. James has got the lingo down. Good day. There we go, mate, all right? We're down to 5. Everyone got sick of that. Hope everyone had a good Christmas. I guess that's where we're at. You'll notice that we've sort of started on the whole bench cleanup. I mentioned that a few times during live stream. Bench is a bit clean. There's projects in the background there, and there's jobs I'm working on at the moment. But apart from that, it's had a clean up. Not particularly sure how conclusively. The lathes had a bit of a clean. This bench over here is looking a little bit better too. Yeah, the 2 hashtags are Clean Slate 2025 and Fresh Start 2025, I think. Write them down, jot them down. Fresh Start and Clean Start. Fresh Start 2025 and hashtag Clean Slate 2025. Sometime between now and New Year's Day. I'm going to say post on New Year's Day, but if you're anything like me, it'll be between now and when they actually get clean before they get dirty again. I've noticed T and B already has his up. But yeah, they're clean bench. This might come to the point that it's a clean bench that we can do a video about tomorrow, or it might not, depending. Fresh Start, yep, with a T. Extra layer of weld around this. This whistle's sort of got out of hand. Also messing with this today a bit, not very conclusively. I spent about 10 minutes on it, to be honest. This is the elbow off the side of the pub. I'm not convinced I like this grey paint. I'm feeling like I'm going to strip this off and start again and get this down to where this is, because this is about the right level of being able to paint it. So I might do that tomorrow and put something that's not quite as sticky and thick on it. Spray something on it maybe, and then put some red over the top. Don't know. Got to find a couple of these gaskets at some point. This one's got a crack through the middle of it, and I don't think it's going to hold. It'll probably be alright, but not sure how much water it's going to hold. So 2 of them would be very good. These are quite brittle. I don't know if they want to be brittle. It's only a water pump gasket. Don't know. Anyway, that's something that's sort of underway. It's a lot of nuts and bolts and things that need fixing up and cleaning up. And this one's bolting up, probably in a coat of paint on it. Next, but I'm going to have to think about some gaskets, whether I go across to Brisbane Gaskets and get something made or cut something. I've got stuff to cut it, so we'll see how we go with that. There might be just off the shelf one. So that's a job. We'll see how we go with that. I don't really know what product to get, but I've probably got the bit that bolted the smoke box on, which is probably good enough, but it's down the fridges. Yeah, Bill, I'm hearing you on that. Clean up time. Ordered some tooling today off Amazon, so it's not the highest quality, but a couple of round insert tools for cleaning up things. Jobs like this one that need doing, and this one that need doing. Probably needs a round nose tool, probably, don't know. This one certainly does. Anyway, ordered a couple of them. They were cheap, with 7mm and a 10mm insert, and a 60-degree thread cutting tool, which I haven't got to fit my lathe, so we'll be able to cut some threads. Job's done. Gosh, everyone else is probably feeling much the same as I am, about dead after Christmas. I don't know if I had a very eventful sort of a day. I'm not sure I even ate much, but not feeling much. Sleep tonight would be good. Probably done enough sleeping today, but some more won't hurt. This got stuck together, didn't it? Never thought of that. See if we can unstick it. It unstuck pretty easy. It wasn't stuck by much. There we go. Printed this. This is a bit crazy, right? If we're going to cast it, and the jury's still out on that, we're going to cast it in 2 bits. This piece here, because this won't need a core, right? Probably does need a core, and it'd be the easy way to cast it, but don't know. It might cast all right without it. If we put a bit of draft on it and cast it that way up, it might come out all right. Don't know. Morning, David. Merry Christmas. So if we do that like that, and if we cast this one, if we're going to cast it without this piece on it and then weld it on afterwards, as Mark's got one there that's actually a prototype, and that's made like that. It's welded in 2 spots, or welded around there like that. Then we don't need an enclosed core for here. We don't have to make a core with end moulds, end imprints to cast that middle one, which, to be honest, we really don't want to do. We don't really want to do. So, does that make any sense? So if we cast this one, like so, oh, that looks like fun, doesn't it? We're hoping that someone in the drawing office or in the Northern Pacific Railway workshops got the tuning right on the drawing. That's what we're hoping, TMB. If it's not, it's not, but I think that's what we might have. A bit of lead in the top of them might work if they're not, but we're going to say what we get's what we get, and it's probably not far out on the drawing, so it's not going to be far out on the sound. Not as convinced about that as we could be, but that's what I believe. How do we cast this? Geez, with great difficulty all the way around. It's not an easy thing to cast at all. The one method that sort of presents itself as being gosh, excuse me, that presents itself as being the easy way to cast this, because it is huge, like it's seriously big. This is what, how tall is that? Have a look with a ruler. There's a 6-inch ruler. It's about 10 inches tall. 12 with this, like so. So the easy way to cast it, I think, is probably to use a product called Polycast, which is basically a lost wax or a burnout filament for 3D printing. What you do is print this to size and then set it up in your box nicely like this and ram it. Probably set it up and ram it, or jack the box up and ram one box down to about that level and up to here. And when that's rammed in nicely, make another box, well, not even make another box on top, but probably turn it over and put another box on top of here and do it in 3 parts and ram the top here as you go. So it's nice. And then turn the 2 boxes over so that it's sitting up like that. Sand underneath it. Then whether you make, and probably the best way is to make like a sodium silicate core for each one of these. Probably with rods in them. And a biscuit or a wafer or a wheel or a block on the bottom here, probably inch thick, and out to here, so that you can drop that in on top of this nicely, and then ram another box on top of it this way up. Is everyone following? Of course you're not. I've been thinking about this for months and I still haven't got it right. So you've got 3 boxes. Then gate it, etc, etc, etc. Burn the plastic out. And with any luck, this core should be still sitting nicely on top of the sand. And it should have a gap in the right spot underneath it, between the cores and here. And all underneath. And then we should be able to probably gate it in the side here. I don't know where you pour it, whether you pour it down here and gate it in the bottom, I don't know, and pour it up. And then when it's full of brass, we can drop the sand out of it and wash the sodium silicate sand out and cut the gates off, and we should have something. You burn this out in a kiln overnight, TMB, before you pour it, so you've got a hollow space to pour it. I think that's the answer. So basically, you fire it at the correct temperature for the material and burn it out overnight, and hopefully it should be self-supporting in the morning to actually pour it. So that's the thought. I think you're probably right, Bill, that it's a rough air volume, and probably the shape of the, I'm not even sure that that's important. It's the resonance. Finish inside is probably important. I believe that this edge is what does the tuning, probably. You're not going to change the volume substantially enough, I don't think, to change the tone. And you've got 5 tones. It's unlikely, if they're within about 10% of where they should be, that they're going to clash too much. That's what I think. At 400 or 500 degrees, yes, I think it will. I think it'll burn out. It's supposed to burn out. Anyway, I'll look into it. I'm not just going to run it full-heartedly into this. I'll look into it a bit. But the other way of actually casting one or manufacturing one, while we're looking at it, is to get a piece of steel pipe and cut this shape on the end of it, like this, so forth, and cut slots in it, 5mm slots through here, and get a piece of steel heavy wall pipe in the middle and cut slots in it to match halfway up, and then get these pieces laser cut with tabs in it to come out the slots so that you can weld this on the outside, and so that you can tack them in the pipe and weld them in the pipe, and then put ends in it, and one in the top, a washer in the top and a washer in the bottom. And then you'd have a steel bell, which would be quite good, I think. Yeah, I'm not sure how all that's going to work. I think this will retain a heat quite well, but it's going to take a fair bit of steam to actually get it hot enough so you can't touch it on the end of a pipe. I don't know. Anyway, at this point, that's my thought processes with that. I can't imagine in any way, shape or form just sand casting it so that it's going to be any good unless you do it in layers. If you had a bit of draft on it, which is going to change your volume, and whether that's critical or not, I don't know. There's no draft shown on the drawing, but if you put a bit of draft in it, then probably there was some hope of actually getting the sand out of the mould without it falling over. Now, I don't like that much. Probably you could, if you had this rammed nice and tight and the sand this way up, then you could just ram the top and it'd stay there. But I don't like that as a theory either, because I think it's going to fall out. And I think it needs to be cast that way up so the weight's at the bottom, I think. So always remember the useful stuff, Bill. That's what I say. So could fabricate these, because as luck would have it, this is the right size for a piece of pipe that we can get off the shelf, because I had thought of that. And we can make it up out of steel and it'd be quite nice. Put a coat of paint on it. Really wouldn't be a terrible looking thing. But that's interesting, David. Look, I don't think we'd have any troubles getting reasonable finish on casting. I mean, look at this. It got this done this week, and this isn't terrible. I mean, it's not, that's just sand cast, and it's not bad. Hopefully we've got this gap about right. It's correct to the drawing, but whether that's how it should be or not, I don't know. It's fairly heavy in there. That's only one way to get it out. So, I mean, this is straight off the printer basically. It's got a coat of high build on it, but only one. And it's machined pretty nice. We've got nice profile on the corner. But yeah, you're right, Bill. We sort of, as long as all the notes sort of resonate too much and don't sound too discordy, it won't hurt. And I think it'll be adequate. So if we can get that sort of finish inside it, I'd be pretty happy. And even on the outside, give it a bit of a clean up with a file or a flap disc or whatever on the linisher and get it somewhere near. The other thing that makes me nervous, if we put this on here so it lines up, and then tack that in place on the casting, the two castings together, there's a fair bit of heat that needs to go in here to TIG these two pieces together around here. To get this hot enough to TIG braze or whatever, this to this, means a lot of heat, like a crazy amount of heat. So not sure about that as a system. Still thinking about that one. So, hey Bea. Anyway, that's where I'm at with that. That's sort of going forward, that's where we're going to be. I'll get a tin of roll of polycast probably. There's about half a roll of filament in it probably. And polycast ain't cheap. And cast this sort of, probably this is glued up already, but if we could cast it in say 3 bits, save as much filament as we could. And then just super glue them together and clean it all up. Drop it in with a coat or whatever on the outside as a sort of a shell. Probably flour and mortar is all it needs. I don't know. It's probably quite okay without anything, to be honest. We use a lot of sodium silicate cores with nothing on them at all except a bit of a dusting, and they seem to wash out all right. Anyway, that's where we're at. It is quite big, I'll give you that. If we set this on the fitting, which we haven't progressed any further with, it's a golden age of procrastination thing happening there. this goes on here, something like that. It's going to be welded in place. That's the main, I guess, our main base. Then this bit here. If we take a step back, that's the sort of what the whistle looks like. So that's a particularly crazy sort of a thing. But it should give us a fairly decent low note that's going to be heard for some distance without using a crazy amount of steam. That's where we're at with it. Don't know. Anyway, any input greatly appreciated. If anyone's an expert on these things, absolutely hit me up. If anyone's watching, because I'd like to, I don't know, like to have it going before too many months are up. And really the only main parts getting this finished. So basically machining this, putting a thread on it, boring it, putting a groove in here and putting a lever in it. And then there's the fancy valve spindle that goes in the middle, which looks something like that. The lever works in with a tapered valve in the bottom. So basically steam pressure holds it shut. So I'm going to make one of them. And weld this on the bottom there. And drill that for a handle. We're going to make a lever for it. And this bottom half's finished. It needs a stud in here that screws in here with a nut that screws on the top. We went and got some nuts for it, but it hasn't happened yet. I think it's 7/8 UNF or something like that on the top, and 1/8 UNF on the bottom. Might wait till my new threading tools come before I attempt that, by way of procrastination. It's not a complicated thing really. There's not much to it. Basically, it's 4 parts really, 5 parts, 5 major parts. There's the bowl. It's all got to go together. That's 1 part. And there's a valve in the bottom of it and a lever. There's 3 parts. There's this valve plate and the bell, plus a stud through the middle. So there's 6 parts. Not much to it. If you like, there's 4 parts and 2 bolts, or 2 steel bits. Anyway, that's where we're at. So it's probably quite easily finishable at this point. This needs some work. I'm probably going to wait, not do too much on this until I get my threading tool, which says Saturday, so it might be this next coming weekend, I don't know. The weekend after that's working bee at Shannondale Steam Shed, so it's not going to happen then. But if I could get this machined and threaded and this Boss machine to go in the hole, which goes basically, it fits in there, and get it bored and then put a slot in it and a hole through here for a pin, then it'd be ready to weld on probably at this point. This bit can wait. Don't know how long, but Foundry doesn't go back till the 12th anyway, so that's a month away. Not quite, but it's a month from last trip up there. So, yeah. No, it's not quite that complicated, Bill. So, I've had a little bit of a clean up here. I've done a little bit of CAD work. I've messed around a little bit with those oilers. I've got a stack of brass castings over there that I need to work on and finish, get out of the way. I've been playing with this, get it up and running. I don't like this paint that's on it. I think it's a bit sort of ordinary, so we might clean that off and do something else. I don't know. It's not a big job in the morning to clean it off. Hit it with a rattle gun and with a rattle can, and hit it with a rattle can, and then put some red on it. Probably not so such thick paint would be a good idea, but we need gaskets before we bolt it up, really. And I like to bolt it up before I paint it. So anyway, that gasket goes there, and there's another one on there which I think is still on the roller, but a couple of new ones won't hurt. They're identical. Mark's roller doesn't have this bit. This bolts directly this way. I think this flange is in a different spot, but it might be on the back here. But it bolts directly onto the pump that way around, facing forward. Whereas mine goes sideways, and basically it's under the steering wheel. And this bolts on, and then the pump piston attaches here. Speaking of which, Bill, something I did do today, which was completely decadent and a little bit lazy, was sat down and watched the YouTube Makers Secret Santa. I really enjoyed that, as I always do. Some very clever projects there. A couple of musical ones too. Some clever things. It's worth it looking through the playlist if you follow Zala Foxton or Colin Furs or any of those guys. This old Tony. Well worth a look. So that's what I did for a few hours today. I was going to get the belt linisher out and clean up some of these castings and start looking at seeing how they were all going together. Never happened. Did pull this out and dust it off because I was cleaning the bench and it really wanted a bit of a clean. So gave it oil up and a bit of a look where we were at with it as far as progress. Yeah. That's where we're at. Next, there's a box full of castings there. I think you've seen them. I don't know if you've seen them or not. I'm going to struggle to dress. It's out to 2 hours. I was thinking it'd be a good idea, but maybe it's not. We've got a fairly leaky, I guess you'd call it, conrod casting. It's not a bad casting actually, and it'll clean up nice. Might need a little bit of bronze on the corner here, or silver solder or something to build it up. But apart from that, it'll clean up pretty nice. Topping will clean up nice. This will clean up nice. This will file up nice. Needs some machining. Really needs to be set up in a milling machine and properly machined, I think, rather than just filed up. So that's the con rod. This is a rocker, which will also clean up nice. It doesn't need any work at all except some machining. And that's not a big deal either. Needs 2 holes in it then, basically, once it's machined to size. Thread in there and a hole in here to go on here. I think it works on that one. This is your intake, this is your exhaust. So it's got a adjustable bolt in here for timing. On there. Hey Mark. And the pin. So that's another job. This is the governor bush, which is sort of might be alright. I don't think it's under in any place, but there's a fair bit of work to clean it up. I'm not sure going forward whether that's a good thing or not, but that goes on the inside of this flywheel. On the inside here. With a hole through it for the shaft. And 2 slots in here, so it's got four little levers for the governor weights. And 2 bolts, one here and one here. In the boss that's already there on the back of the flywheel. So the governor weights work on this. The governor weights work on this little sleeve here. And there's one of these which is probably going to be out of steel, which operates in here. This pin here, and then this slides in there like that. This one goes in here, and then there's a little pin drops through there, and it's got an adjustable screw. So that's what starts and stops at each stroke, or when it speeds up. So they're all projects that can be done on that. And then of course we need an outside hone and an inside hone to finish the cylinder properly, because that's where it's going to make it or break it. And if we do that, we could probably get some compression. And if we get some compression, we're sort of not that far off having the thing actually going. Anyway, need time for that. Gotta get this finished first. So that's another project. What else? Got a big stack of DXF files for laser cutting. I believe that Fridge's Marshall Portable needs new doors in it, boiler doors, because had terrible problem the last. Every time we put doors, taking the doors out and putting them back in, just about every time we've had issues with water leaks, especially in one door in particular. And we're sort of suspicious that the plate that it seals on, that the door seals on, was a bit suspect. But recently found one off the other Marshall, which is identical part, and changed it over. And I believe he steamed all weekend with no problem. So maybe just the door's a bit underside or a bit worn or not original or something like that. So we might need to make some more doors for that. So we'll get some of them bits cast or cut. with the laser. There's the motion covers that the steam engine pipes go on. That's the thing. I think there's going to be a side, or probably a couple of sides for the worm steering housing, or the gear steering box, because they all seem to be sort of rusted out, and I think Mark needs one too, so we might as well get one of them too for him. What else? There's another cover that's missing off one of the gear covers. There's a oil inspection or grease inspection cover that's missing. I've got to make one of them. There's a 3mm plate. There's a bit of a list of things, and all different thicknesses and things like that. So we get it all cut in the same time because there's a minimum charge. And we'll have a big stack of bits that we can weld up. So that's something that needs. Ooh, I just got a message to say that we're closed tomorrow. I know we're closed at work tomorrow. We're also going to be closed on the next one too, because it's New Year's Day, which is very excellent. Anyway, get some things done. Kimber Zelic, Merry Christmas. Very good series of videos from Kimber Zelic. While we're here on the subject, on making a new roller for a little belt linisher. I've got the same belt linisher, and his looks like an upgrade, so really enjoyed that. Good series of videos. Thanks, Kimber Zelic. Go and check that out. Messed around with a few pens this afternoon. I've run out of Rotring pen cleaner, and I've gone to buy another bottle and discovered that Rotring pen cleaner is no longer available, which is a bit of a problem. But there's another brand, a fairly well-respected American brand, that still makes it, so it'd be nice to find out what's actually in it, because I've got Rotring pens that need a good clean and haven't got any. So I've got my 0.35 Rotring drafting pen soaking in water. I'm not sure that's going to do anything. I don't feel like we've actually got anything out of it yet. You can't really take these apart. And it's stuck, the plunger's stuck, so you can't suck through it or blow through it. And it doesn't rattle anymore, so that needs fixing. This is a brand new pen, 12 months ago. So, not so good that I've left it a month. I shouldn't have left it with ink in it this last time. Anyway, ultrasonic's probably the answer, but you want some pen cleaner too. No good putting them in caustic or something. Ray Johnson, good morning. Welcome. So anyway, that's one job. I only thought of that because these are my two work pens usually. This is a Pelican. It's a nice fountain pen. I really like this. And this has got rotary ink in it, so it's not a big deal to clean. I've got pen hands getting all cramped there, but this is a nice pen. If you're looking for a good fountain pen at a cheap price, and you're probably not, but as a gift or whatever, you can't go wrong with Pelican. This is a pretty nice pen. And if you pick the right ink, and Pelican do their own Japanese ink, which is really nice. It's not Japanese. Like it's not round up bones of your enemies or anything. But this is a really good range of inks. I did say Pilot, didn't I? It's a Pilot pen anyway. Probably didn't. This is nice ink, this. It washes out nicely with water. And that's just three colours I've got. This is blue and purple and red. Violet and purple, violet and indigo and blue. Got some black as well, probably somewhere. But in a case like that, you can often find it at the right price. Just saying. The Japanese know how to make ink, but this is a sort of a modern take on Japanese ink. I don't think it's not ground up bones of your fallen Mongols or anything like that, like proper Japanese ink is, or should be. So, that's one job. Had another pen that Fab got me for Christmas. I was going to show you that. I didn't bring it with me. It's still in my other room. I might go and grab it. You can talk amongst yourselves, people. Tell us all about what a wonderful Christmas you had, and I'll be back directly. Won't be a second. Yeah, I'm back. It didn't take me long. I said Pelican. It's a Pilot pen. Yeah, I'm not sure why I said Pelican, but Pilot. Not sure Pelican is still going. Ray Johnson's just having an early start for Christmas. It seems a bit crazy. I can think of a lot of things I'd rather do at 4 AM. 5 a.m. Christmas morning. Now, and this morning I was in bed. Well, that's interesting, David. Albatross. Oh, I've got this bleeding albatross. In the words of the great John Cleese. Albatross. Work colleague got me this because I've sort of given him a pretty good hand with 3D printing and stuff over the last 12 months. I think in bikes and painting and all sorts of stuff he's done. Bit of education. This was completely uncalled for though. It's a fairly expensive ballpoint pen. Sold out. It's aluminium. I don't have anyone's particularly interested in pens, but it's one of my little pet things that I don't sort of share too much. But I have a bit of a collection. And this is a bit nice. It's a Rotring 600 in aluminium. So, show that off. That's one of the Christmas presents I got. There wasn't a lot of Christmas presents this year, only because it's only me and I had to buy stuff myself, but I didn't. Mark and Mrs. Mark did a mug for me, which was really nice. That was another Christmas present. Well, I was having a clean out. I'm going to zoom you here, so this may get it really, really. Shaky there. Found a pair of Meccano boxes, a pair of boxes for Meccano Magic Motors. Two of. One of them is in my coat hanger challenge, which is a little joyride airfield coat hanger or bag hook. When you hang it up, the little biplane spins round. I think you've probably all seen that. So the one's just empty box, but the other one's got a Meccano Magic Motor in it, which I'm going to leave there and try not to pretend that it's sort of telling me that it needs a new project. Oh, Bill. Yeah, righto. I might go and check that out. I might check that out, Bill. I may go and watch him again. Maybe. I've been messing with this. This is another thing that's not particularly not working as well as it could be. This is the impeller of a 1910 Argyle motor car. I think I showed this the other week. trying to get one cast, and I've made up a pattern that looks exactly like this, right? It's not a bad pattern. Same shape, because I think casting one off this bent one's a bit of a waste of time. So I've made a straight one. And it's impossible to get to the sand, to lift out the sand, because this curls back on itself and grips the sand in here, and there's not very much holding it in place through here in each side. Don't like it much. So my thought process on it, as far as pattern making, and there is a thought process probably. Been reading a couple of pattern making books trying to get some sort of insight in how to do it, is to make it in 5 pieces. Not unlike a big box of patterns down here that are neither, which may or may not be made into another whistle. See this one, which lifts out like this. So basically, this is set down that way up, and the sand's rammed around it, and then the box is turned over, and the middle's lifted out nicely, and then these ends come out this way. Now, that doesn't quite work with this, because they've got that funny curve on the end. I don't really know how to do it. But I think it would be a lot easier to get these pieces out separately than it would be to lift the whole thing out at once, because you can't really do that without at least one of these falling out. If you lift the centre out and then gently lift each one of these pieces out, doesn't seem any easier. I wonder if you cast this with a solid disc on the back that you machine off. That's another thing you could do, is make this with a disc as part of it. Or do you do like the an investment casting on it? I mean, that might be an option too. It might be a good trial run for the weather whistle. Don't know. Anyway, that's something else. No thoughts on it. Anyway, what did everyone get for Christmas? I know you're all watching. What did you all get for Christmas? Hopefully it wasn't a 1910 Argyle car, or Argyle car. Hopefully it wasn't a 1926 steamroller. It would probably be quicker to machine it out of solid, but it's not that easy. You could probably get Joe to machine it up by CNC it. It's not a particularly easy thing to make like that. I saw that, Stuart. Got some BA taps and dies, so you're set. Complete set, they're pretty good quality. My issue with those, and I do have some issue with commercial taps and dies in model engineering sizes. So just shift stuff and have some clean bench top. Which is very cool. Gonna have a look here. Sorry. Here we go. Not BA. I've caught the microphone. But here we go. Model engineer taps and dies. Bit of a selection. Some of them are model engineer taps and dies. I don't know what that is. But I'm suspicious it's not a model engineer thread. .38 Whitworth. Don't know why it's in there. Here we go. Chrome tap set, 3/16 by 24. That one's BSW, is not really a good example. The problem I have, and find one that's actually like it, is that they've got this point on them, which means you can't tap into something that's blind. So you can't make steam fittings with them. It's a bit of an issue. It's all right for a through hole, but not particularly good for, say, a union nut or a gland nut. So I'm inclined to grind these back to there. Grind the point off on at least one set. If you've got two sets, grind the point off one of them. Then at least you can start it with this, and then you can use the other one. Same issue with these. Where are we? Don't know if these aren't the model engineer taps, and some of them they're all Whitworth. We'll keep looking. They're BA. These are model engineer threads. Let's have a look here. The point's just a pain in the neck, actually. Now, you have another issue here with the dies. Here we go. Here's a die that's, what have we got? Quarter 24. Quarter. Yeah, this one's actually Whitworth. But they've got way too much start on both sides of the thread. That's not a good example. Find one that is. There we go. Way too much start on both ends of the thread. So if you're trying to thread something that's only 4 threads short long, you can only put 2 threads in before it won't screw on any further. Because if you screw up against a flange or a shoulder. Take care, David. Have a great Christmas. If you screw up against the shoulder, then you get that first 2 threads don't actually exist. So you can't screw a nut all the way on. So you've either got to file the back of them out or cut the back of them out. You've got a little knife file I use for that. Or you design things so that you don't screw things up against the shoulder, which doesn't really work. Because 99 out of 10, 100 model steam fittings are made like that. My thought process with this is that they need surface grinding on the front. So they still fit in the die all right, but you could take 1.2, something like that, off the top of them. And then when you reverse them to finish the thread, you're actually cutting all the way up. So that's a thought. The better ones should come closer, but all the Model Engineer threads I've ever seen, especially Aprica and there's another one, Totem's another one, Apex is another one that comes from the UK. ALP's one that LPR Tool Making in Melbourne sell. They all do that. So now Joe has a surface grinder. One of the jobs that I'm going to get him to do is to sit down the machine and grind all these off on one side. Probably do them myself. Grind the backs of them off, or the top side that doesn't go in the die, and then when you reverse them, you can cut right down to the thread. Anyway, that's my pet gripe with Model Engineering taps. Don't know if that was any use to anyone, but that's my collection. Model Engineer taps and dies, BA taps and dies, Whitworth, etc. taps and dies, some of them. Smaller stuff, model stuff anyway. I'll put these away. There's a BA. I do like BA, especially in sheet metal. It's a sheet metal thread. It's very nice to convert some stuff to metric, but for a lot of model engineering projects, BA is nice because it's got better thread engagement, being 42 degree. Um, 42 degree thread, so in thinner materials they engage better. So BA is nice. In softer materials they grip a bit better. That's my BA bolt assortment. Actually 3D printed them. If anyone wants STL to go in these containers. So do the job with the label maker then. This is very good because when you close this and you drop them, they don't all get mixed up. Whereas if you don't have this in here and you just got the loose joints, if you close them and you drop them, it's going to take you 2 days to get them all sorted out again. So we're down to 8BA and up to 2BA. I think I've got other assorted, but don't use much under 8BA. Or much bigger than 2BA really. And they all got nice hexes on them too, which is worth having. So something to think about. That's one of my projects going forward before too long is to make my taps and dies a little bit better. I've already ground most of my taps down, but I would like to have a bit of a go at the dies. Now we've got a surface grinder that works. These should go down there as well, but they don't because all these hammers in the way. Feeling like I want to move this pegboard onto the end of that cupboard there somehow and put all the hammers around the side there. Maybe so that we can got access here for all these boxes to go in here nicely, because it's sort of designed for that. Anyway, I don't mind metric at all. Metric's a good system. If we're going to go with metric, I've got colour coded so I can pick out the right one at the right time. But metric, I've got the same system, basically from M2 through to M4 there. Most of these are socket head cap screws. Finding metric XZ bolts is a bit difficult 2024, but it's the same system. And I've got another one with M5 to M6 in orange. It's over there. So that's how that system works. The same boxes for my taps and for my other taps and dies, but they don't really work in bigger sizes. Not that big a fan. There we go. Haven't done anything at all with this wooden box. Bit slack. I've got a piece of plywood there. I've got plans to do stuff, but it hasn't happened. There was no action there. Bit slack. Just for James, haven't done anything over here either. I cleaned the bench, cleaned the lathe, sort of, swept it down, cleaned that bench off, sorted out all the drills. You notice that there's no actual drills on the bench like there was before. So sorted all them out, imperial and metric. I'd very much like to get this hooked up at some point, and I don't know what to do. That's the main reason it's never been done, is that I don't really know what to do, whether I go with something 3D printed like this, which is a really good system and really strong and absolutely no backlash, and really impressed with this as a system. These are way too big, but that's one thought process. Might be the cheap way to do that, or whether I actually buy some decent German slides and spend $1,500 each on them and do it properly, which probably isn't overkill either, really, except I'm tight. So did you see a sock? Yeah, we've got some socks. There we go. Now we've got a big 3D printer, and dare I say it, oh gosh, this guard on here is going to have to happen at some point soon. Make a pattern for it and cast it in aluminium. I really would like to have that sorted. Now, can you hear me? I guess you can hear me. Anyway, whether I make a top and a bottom rim and a piece of tin and a piece of 3mm aluminium around the outside, between the two, riveted on, that might be a nice option. It'd look really good. And paint it so I can make this as high as I like, because I think this guard would be nice if it was right up here somewhere out of the way. And if we made a cast piece to go in here and a cast piece to go on the bottom with a flange, then we could fold up a piece of aluminium and put it in here and probably put some screws in from the inside nicely, or rivet it, whatever. We could do like huck rivets, like make it look sort of steampunky Kenworthy style, which is a good thing if you like that. And do the same on the top, and then give it a coat of paint and tidy it up and polish the top and the bottom casting. That's probably the easy way going forward. Or design something though. I would have liked to have caved. The big thing about casting it in a full piece is that A, it looks better, and B, it'd be nice to put the Lorch name on the front here. But there's still things that can be done. We could make a Lorch plate and rivet it onto. That's something we could do. Or even spot weld it from the back. I think we can make it look pretty nice, and that'd be the easiest way to do it. I've been thinking about it. Is to make a angle section piece to go around here. 3 sides. Right, down there, across there, and down there on the bottom. And then another piece up here. And if we made up a piece of aluminium sheet, got it cut and folded to fit them, then could either rivet it in or tick it in or put some screws in it or something, and give it a coat of paint, green paint, and polish the top and the bottom. I think it looked really nice. So that's going forward, probably a project that needs to happen, because I'm getting sick of dropping stuff down there and sweeping stuff down the hole, and these bolts whizzing past and these belts whizzing past and stuff like that. So, thoughts. That's one thing. I've got this piece of stainless on the top. I also very much like to put this piece of stainless across the top of these, like screw it on there and bring it up across here as sort of a splash guard as well, all the way along, and probably put some sort of light system under it. Not really to hide the belts, it's to stop things falling down the hole, stop getting hands caught in them, and it's to smarten it up so we haven't got a hole in the bench. That's the main thing, is your stuff drops off down there and then you lose it down the hole and you've got to shift everything to find it in the back behind that cupboard, which is a problem. Anyway, that's that. I've been giving this some thought. Now, this is something I'm going to regret even discussing on live stream, right? Not gonna really be a good thing to talk about it. But Stuart has some nice pedals. That was a random thing I didn't expect to hear. Stuart has a box of mine down there, which I've got to go and get at some point very smartly before too long. Don't know when. But in there is a couple of cast iron pedals. Right. Tea and biscuits, very good question. Why is it made not? Because when I was designing this bench up, right, for one, I needed an extra reduction here. For two, I needed to use this particular drive shaft unit, which I had. For three, I really wanted an overhead drive so I could run this pulley onto a cutting frame or whatever if that comes to that stage when I retire and I sell all my big toys and want to mess around in here. For four, sitting this motor up here on the bench behind the lathe fills up with swarf and stuff, and it's got to have a big square box over it and it looks ugly. And if you drive this directly or mount it on the lathe, there's too much weight on the bed. And if you mount it on the bench, then it makes the bench too big and you've got too much dead space behind it. I found these nice cast legs, right, and made the bench up. This was about 1800 long, and I actually cut the solid wrought iron or cast iron pieces, wrought iron pieces, forged pieces out in the middle. Like they had 4 of those, or 3 of those legs going through, and I ended up making basically getting some plates cut and making 3 new RHS legs to sit the motor on with the 2 angles between the 2 back ones with plumber blocks on them. So that brings everything back to having decent bearings. It's got a belt, V-belt on this end, and then it's got a big flat pulley here. This works well with these belts running through here. Hey, fridge. That works well. However, this is a very good reversible system. The reversing on this is fantastic. Like, it kicks backwards and forwards like nearly instantaneously, and I really like that without having too much resonance. Or I couldn't really make that work with the motor mounted where it's going to fill up with chips. So it's down there out of the way, and I like it like that. What I would like to do, right, is make a panel to go down here in cast aluminium, right, quite wide, with a nice filigree pattern. Whether you do something fancy with a leaf pattern, or whether you just make something with very 1950s with a launch symbol in the middle and a flat panel with gaps in it or something. I don't know. Still thinking about that. And mount the pedals on the bottom. So put the pedals in underneath a little bit, behind there, the ends of them, so they stick out a bit, and make a frame so that the fronts of them are supported somehow. Don't know how that's going to work, right? And then have a it's good and sufficient reasons for that. TMB, there's good and sufficient reasons for it. That's all we need to know. Look, I spent about 2 years trying to squirrel out how this was all going to work when I put it together, because all I had was the lathe and sorted other bits. So this is what I ended up with. I found these cast iron legs and I got this piece made up, and then I found the jeweler's lathe shaft interstate and bought that in auction, and then hooked it all up, and it all works so far. No appeal, except it's nice. And I like all the extra bits. The lathe in itself is a project, and I sort of feel a bit inspired by the 1920s catalogues with modular, like machining centres for factories and things that look like this. Where these two toolboxes are, I'd like to put a proper chest with fold out tills for or swing out tills, or over centre tills that swing out for chucks and things. So that's going to go in that corner eventually. Probably nothing special. There's a bit of 30mm plywood and something to make that out of 20mm plywood. But yeah, there's no fun in that. Now, these levers need to work at this shaft across here, backwards and forwards, which is our reversing system. Right. If we fire that up, have I ever been tempted? Yes, when I paint it maybe, but I'm not sure about that. It needs another coat of paint because it's been 15, 20 years since it was done, 15 years. Dan drove the truck. Didn't die, that's very good. Dan's obviously had a big weekend. That's where I'm at with that. See, and it's fun. You've got to admit it's fun. It's German, I don't think it had a lot of stripes on it. Right. Just forward. Back. If we take this stop out at the moment and move this back here, if we move these two belts across to this side, we've got reverse. I'm sure you've all seen that. So we've got forward and reverse there, which is very nice. Could do with some oil in this probably. So this needs a system to move it from centre to each side, basically using two pedals, right? So probably one pedal. I don't know how this is going to work. But if we have one pedal to select forward and reverse, and one to select stop and go. When you're reversing it, 9 times out of 10, you don't stop. Anyway, still thinking that through, giving it some thought. So there's systems you can use. There's basically 3 systems you can make this work with, right? One is you can have a set of pulleys and an over-centre counterweight, which basically moves 2 strings, right? Pulls it one way or the other, and an over-centre weight. That's probably nice and simple. It's got a bit of feel to it. Another thing is you could use springs, and you could use strings and springs. You could use rods. Rod here, up through the back here, up to here with a bell crank, and a spring, right? Which returns it to the centre on each side. That might be a thing. Maybe you just make this so you push one pedal, runs forward, take your foot off, it stops, push the other pedal, it goes back. That's probably as good as anything. So you could have a system of rods with a bell crank and a spring. That's something. You could also have some sprockets with bearings in them and a chain which runs down and does sort of a similar thing with a counterweight off the end of the chain, which is probably quite nice too. We could just have bell cranks and pulleys with a counterweight. We could just use like a wire rope system and run it through some steel elbows. It's probably as easy as anything and as good as anything. We could use a Bowden cable system, which is well and truly within keeping in the era of the thing and probably plenty heavy enough to do it. So I've been thinking about this and sketching it out when I've had a spare minute. Not feeling like I've reached any conclusion, but we get a couple of these bigger castings out of under our belt. Probably the foundry will either say, Emma, we've had enough, back off. Or they'll say, yeah, we can do that, no worries at all, we've got a proven track record, we'll do it. But I'd make this panel is about 800 by 300 by about 20 mil. And aluminium would be good with the bracket on the top and the bottom. It'd be very nice. And it'd cover the motor in with a guard, look good. Fixes that. And it can be painted the same colour as the lathe. And we could put the rods up through the back. So whether we probably run it, I reckon, rather than use pulleys, which is the rope's gonna jump off eventually or fray or fall off or something, just use like a bend up hydraulic cable and run a string or a rope or wire rope or something through it up to here, which would be the neat, tidy way to do it, and put some sort of a system on here with bell levers so that one lever, basically one lever pulls it that way and one lever pulls it that way and it returns to the centre. That's what I think we need. Anyway, and there are other ways to do it too. The other way to do it is to run a couple of solenoids on here. Make it a box system with a couple of solenoids, a couple of switches down here. Click, 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 click. No wire down there. Job's done. 12 volt. Yeah, I have had this running in reverse because it's very useful for fine thread cutting. That's the main reason behind this. Because there's no half nuts on this, and if you're cutting metric or imperial threads, you want to keep it engaged all the time anyway. On here, there is a dog clutch to kick it out, but if you kick this out on the dog clutch, what you find is that you don't put it back in the right place, so it really wants to stay connected. So having something that you can run up to a shoulder and reverse it straight back out is very, very nice, even at slow speed. So that's the thought process behind that. And I have used this reversible system when I had this set up for the cutting threads. And if you've got a 60 TPI thread on here that's 1.5 inches long, that's what, to wind it back out's what, 90 turns. So at 180 RPM, it's still half a minute. So that's why. That's the thought process behind it. All my chucks have been fitted with collars, right? before anyone, that'll be the next thing someone brings up for sure. Right, lock and collar on the back. So that's never coming off in reverse. This one hasn't yet, but whether we're actually going to do any thread cutting with the 4-jaw, I'm not sure. It would be very useful to have this set up for thread cutting, and everyone's like, you're never going to use the 4-jaw for thread cutting, but that's not quite right. If you've got a project like this, which Mark has coming up, which is the starting valve for the Fowler roller, right? There's a casting here. Looks like it's sort of under improvement at the moment. If you need to thread that, you can drill it and tap it. But if you're going to drill it and set it up in the 4-jaw to thread it, to drill it, then you kind of want to thread it in the lathe as well while you're at it. And this one's the same. That's the external thread on that one. So you want to set it up in the 4-jaw. So and Merry Christmas. So that's what we need. But the only thing stopping this being finished is this hook up between here and here. And some sort of kick out system on this clutch for actual like power feed machining. Don't use it for thread cutting, but it'd be very useful for machining up to a stop. So they're all projects on the launch. If we're going to go there, they're all things that need to be done. None of them really need to be done, but they're all things that could be done. Given enough time and spare. And if I've got a few days at home, I start thinking about things like this rather than what I should be doing on steamrollers and things, which is a bit of a problem. Fridge is here now, so he can sort of take a good look at this and marvel at the idiot factor that brings us to this point. I don't know who saw the whistle before and who didn't, but we'll have another look at it. Crazy project, but that's the next big casting. Picture of the roller on the wall. Well, I've got a plate there and I've got a pump there and I've got no shortage of roller projects laying around. Don't hardly need more reminders. But a nice frame photo would be good up there. We could do that. Anyway, this looks like it's going to come together pretty nice. Even the whistle's a distraction, that's right, but built the bullet and ordered a bit of bronze for pump valves, so we'll get in and make them before too long. I don't think that's a very big job. It's an afternoon's work to make them and reinstall them. Need to find some gaskets, would be the next thing though for the pump. Try not to make everything else a side project, but yeah, sometimes it's a bit like that. Bit sleepy. Did I see anyone today? I've just been in. Didn't see anyone. Joe's here. Joe's doing some serious robot building out there in the shed. He's making bits in aluminium and steel and so forth, and putting keyways in and stuff for robots, and putting fitting bearings and thrust bearings and roller races and things. It's all happening. Does Joe have a channel? No. I think Joe might be playing video games out there. He might be more a Twitch streamer than a channel person. Gee, that was a big yawn. I've actually repurposed this box because it's no good for the lamps, and I was sort of saving it for the lamps, and then I discovered after, when I went to that point, that lamps don't fit. So this is now a rag box. So that's that. How do I get so much done? I don't have a life. That's where I am. I don't actually go out and talk to people and meet people. But I haven't done much today. I cleaned some pens. I started cleaning the workbench because we have a hashtag event on the 1st of January. New Year's resolution thing. Not so much of that because I know it's not going to last. But there's two hashtags, Clean Slate 2025 and hashtag Fresh Start 2025. So if you use those two hashtags, post a short on YouTube of a clean bench before and after, and everyone will be suitably impressed. And I've made some inroads into that today. Dan says, that's big. Are you looking at this whistle? Yeah, it's big. It's when you sit it all up like that. When you sit it all up that, oh, we're going to do it, Ian. We're going to do it. You're going to watch and see. Tomorrow I'm going to finish cleaning this off. Probably just stack everything in a little corner over there on the floor and put it all back when I'm done. No, probably not. I think most of this stuff can go away. Yeah, it sort of creeps up on your fridge. If you turn around and forget it's there and then turn around, it sort of gets you by surprise a little bit. That casting in the top, according to my CAD program, which works these things out, it's got 9 kilograms of brass in it. Just so you know. So it's about 15 kilo all up, I would say. Proper 6-inch steel all up against it, just for size comparison. It will look bigger when it's shiny brass, and it'll certainly be heavier. But we'll see how it works. Yeah, it was what I've heard referred to as the cone of cleanliness is what we have, which is the camera cone, and outside the camera cone everything's piled up over here and over here. As Tom Make here calls it, the cone of cleanliness. So, but there's more stuff got up on the bench since we started here, like even tonight. Like this pattern could go back in the box, and this part could go back in the box. Been using this light again. This used to be on my watchmaker's bench years ago, 20 years ago, this light. And it's only an fluoro one, but it's not a bad thing. So I plugged it in tonight. There you go. Might get a bit more use. Anyway, that's what's happening in my workshop. Looks like you've all had good Christmases. I haven't heard a lot of updates or anything about what you all got and what exciting things happened. I'm tipping that Fridge spent a lot of his in the pool, which would be sensible, and messing around with steam engines. I'll give you a ring tomorrow if you've... Don't know when you're going back to work, but we'll give you a ring tomorrow. Still morning in England, yeah, so you're sort of in the UK, you're sort of still reeling from... You haven't sat down and had lunch yet and had a sleep. I know I didn't even really have lunch, but I've had a sleep. TMB got hold of a compressor and a sandblasting unit. That's a very useful thing to have. Bill's having another Tuesday. I've discovered this product because the automotive paint stripper that I was using is a bit ordinary actually, and I went to get another tin of it just in case, because I wanted to strip this fitting down, and they had this instead, which is Paint Remover 600 by HB Body. Looks like off-brand, doesn't it? Not a lot of effort went into designing a fancy tin for it. It's got instructions in about 1,000 countries, and then different 1,000 languages, and then it's got pictures. You see, you shake it for 2 to 3 minutes. You spray it on 20 to 30 centimeters away, and you put 1 to 2 coats on, and you leave it for 15 minutes, and you clean the tin like that. Your guess is as good as mine with that one. I just sort of improvised that one. I'm not sure what that one is. And then there's a book. No idea what the last two mean, but it worked all right. This last two infographics are a little bit sort of... Yeah, not sure what they mean. I got as far as cleaning the painting upside down and the 15 minutes thing. I believe for paint it does work just as well, that's right. Say hi when the sun shines, Journeyman Randy says. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. It seemed a little bit obscure. Anyway, it peeled this off nice anyway. We could turn that light back on. It's sort of sad without it, isn't it? Go read a book for 15 minutes? I don't know what that means. Anyway, got this to the point that we can give it a coat of paint anyway. I reckon that'll key nicely onto that. Yeah, this is the best thing. They're all LED now, which is even better. This one here is probably 25 years old. I've had this one for that long. It was on my workbench in Tasmania when I was like contract watchmaker, a wholesale work, and it's a very useful thing. Like down at that level, if you're actually doing fine work, it's a very good thing, you know. Quite a bit of magnification there. I'm not sure what's at the shed, Dan, but anyway. I don't know, it's a magnified lamp. Most industrial suppliers carry them. LED magnifying lamp, 8-inch LED magnifying lamp. This one's got a fluoro globe in it, which isn't terrible really, but don't know how it goes with strobes and things for magnifying work lamp, magnifying work light. Stuart's got it. They're available still. I know a friend's bought a couple off a tool manufacturer or a tool wholesaler here. Good to tighten up because that's actually fallen down now. I've started using it. Look at that. Anyway. But they're LED and they're much better. Haven't eaten my bicky yet, no. And I've still got, I was going to have a drink too, but I haven't. So, that's where we're at with that. Anyone with any thought processes about actually casting this so it doesn't scare me silly, it'd be great. I got no idea. Actually, I've got more idea than I did have 12 months ago. Or I had even last week. I've got more idea than then. But, don't know. I will have another look at yours, Mark, at some point. I'll come up and have a look. It's probably pretty straightforward. But there might be some clues in it. And bring a ruler up and have a bit of a look at it close up. There might be some clues in it. But I think I've got it down. I just got to buckle down and talk Dallas into doing it. We're attempting it. I think he'd be fine with it, but it's sort of a big job. And it's a 3-part box, I think. And not so much lost foam, but an investment system. So, there we go. Get all this back together and paint it tomorrow, probably. Don't know, I won't get a gasket this week. And I don't really want to use this gasket again. It's all hard and it's got a crack through the middle of it. Across there. Don't like that much. But we'll cut a couple, get a couple of gaskets cut, or we'll make a couple of gaskets. Only water pump gaskets, so it doesn't matter much what it is. And clamp it all together before we paint it, clean all the goop and everything off it, so we've got a nice painted seal. And start thinking about putting the rest back together. We've nearly pulled in 2 hours, talking about nothing really. We had someone sidetracked me and we talked about lathe for half hour, which I wasn't expecting to. We talked about whistles for quite some time. We talked about nuts and bolts and threads for a bit of time. What else did we talk about? Clean benches. Clean slate 2025 is one hashtag, and fresh start 2025 is the other hashtag. Put them both in your video description. Easy as that. Just the pound sign or the hashtag sign. The Americans call it pound sign, I'm not sure why, but the hashtag sign and the tic-tac-toe sign, whatever you want to call it, and Clean Slate 2025, and the other one is Fresh Start 2025. And have a short video, only needs to be 15 seconds long, with before and after of the bench. There you go. Mark's got it written down. Coppercoat the faces, that might work too, probably, but I think I'd like to see a gasket in it. Yep, link to them in the Discord. If you don't, I will try and get you some views. From my experience, you've got to have a fairly big input to get any actual algorithm action, but like a lot of views. But it might be fun, see who does it. The railway crossing sign, that's right, 10 biscuits, that's right. That one. That's the one to use. Anyway, tomorrow's probably going to be more of a clean up day. Probably going to try and get some paint on this. At least some undercoat on the 2 bits. Probably not going to get much done on that. I have ordered a round nose tool to finish those 3 little oil caps for the Roby fridge. Bill can't stand short, so it'll be a few minutes. It's alright. You're allowed to. If we go over to my mate's place, probably those boiler band mounts could be pressed into a curve too. Put a curve in these, but that's another job. Ain't no one got time for a 15-minute video about cleaning benches. Ain't no one gonna watch it, so whatever you want to do, but use the hashtags. There you go. See what we can get going. Sounds like fun. And it'll hold me to keeping a clean bench as well. That's what we're all about. Anyway, if no one else has got anything else exciting to say, I'm gonna call this, I think. Say thanks for watching. It's awesome that you're all caught up on we've got 15 people watching all this time later. It's awesome that you're all caught up on Christmas Day. I hope you had a great one. I haven't caught up with anyone this week. I've just laid low, kept my head down. Done very little, and except work. Very little. But we did print this, which is huge, to use the words of the great Donald Trump, or the less not so great Donald Trump. Anyway, be kind to each other, especially to me, and tomorrow's a day off, so I might be up for a bit longer. I've had my afternoon nap. Might be on Discord or Facebook or wherever you want to chat. And we'll talk soon. More soon, guys.